So welcome in to all those that follow us here on Soccer Tejas. Today, a special edition of the Soccer Tejas podcast. I'm Alex Parra. With me here in studio, we welcome in Mr. Victor Araiza. Victor, first of all, good evening again. We'll talk obviously about Seattle and Houston shortly, but first of all, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Alex. Good evening, everybody that's tuning in. And of course, we always invite you send your questions, post-game comments. We'll try to get some of those in here as well.
Absolutely, we will. Also with us, you can see her on screen, Laura Gomez. Laura, wow, what a long evening so far. But first of all, welcome in. How are you tonight?
I'm doing okay after that traumatic ending, I would say. Heartbreaking for sure.
Heartbreaking for sure. So, Laura, why don't you give us a recap? And by the way, friends that are following us on our different platforms, thanks for being with us. Let's talk a little Dynamo post-match. And we know now that in penalty and spot kicks, 5-4, Seattle Sounders picking up the victory today. We're monitoring the press conference, and we'll go to it immediately from Lumen Field from Seattle. But, Laura, first of all, give us your take on what we lived this evening. Like you said, frustrating, agonizing, but reality.
Honestly, it wasn't like we mentioned. We weren't expecting a lot of attack, a lot of movements of either of the teams. The first half was really didn't have a lot of highlights, not a lot of action, not a lot of danger plays. The second half, I think the most exciting thing, quote unquote, was Carrasquilla, which I still don't know what actually caused the whole. I don't know if you guys saw a different, view. I was trying to watch, look for different views of what actually happened. I only saw kind of the effect of it, but not really what caused like Carrasquilla for everything to happen. When they first gave out the yellow cards, I was like, okay, good. The ref is trying to keep this, kind of calm, easy going. And then they called the VAR and then they, gave the red card. And I was like, well, it's going to be harder now. But I think the Dynamo did a good job with the, a man down.
Sure. For those of you that are just joining us, a lot of drama this evening in Seattle. Laura, you were talking about the red card for Coco Carrasquilla, 64th minute, if I'm not mistaken, and initially our center ref, Ted Uncle, giving a yellow card because of extracurricular activity. Then Victor going to the VAR and deciding that, you know what, it rises above that because apparently there was motion and or contact in the head or face area, and the one that ends up suffering from that is Carrasquilla, leaving the Dynamo down to 10.
It is, and I think the only thing, too, there was a play or there was action right before that where it looked like Coco may have shoved down Jackson Reagan, the defender.
Right.
We didn't get to see that, and it didn't seem like that was what was being reviewed. I thought that's what could have gotten him the red card, and then, it ended up being the same play that he got the yellow for that they ended up giving him a red, which I think was a little confusing for all of us. We're still trying to figure out. It's kind of there on the edge. But in the end, I think you placed it, or you said it best during the game. He shouldn't have put himself in that position.
You hurt your team when you're in that situation. You've got to be calm, and there'll be plenty of time to discuss that. Dynamo fans that are following us, that are watching us, first of all, thank you. What did you think of that pivotal decision, 64th minute? Then we remain 0-0. We're into added time, stoppage time, Laura, and then apparently Ted Uncle says, you know what, handball, and it was almost decided. Your thoughts on what eventually was reversed by VAR and Ted Uncle in this case? I think I like the system and being able to review it and seeing that there was actually no handball from Houston.
Yeah, my first thought was, and there's no way. Like I screamed at the TV. My voice is already trying to leave, but with this, I screamed more at the TV. I'm like, no, there's no way. There's no way that's a handball. Like I saw the first contact was chest, and I was like, this better not be a penalty because like there's no way that it is. And then, one of the positive things, I guess, with the VAR is that they can check out and see actually, what happened, that it actually hit the chest first and then it kind of just bounced. Him trying to move your hand because there's nowhere else you could put your hand. It did like a contact, so it was considered that it wasn't a handball, which was the correct decision. So, it was just a little bit more other stressful moments of me being a fan of the Dynamo.
Stressful moments, but you know what? Two pivotal decisions that somehow kept Houston, the red card and being down 10 didn't keep Houston in the match, but they survived that. They make it into the penalty kicks after the reversed the reverse call on the handball, Victor. And here's Houston going into the penalty kicks. They're tied 3-3, and then probably the player we didn't expect to misses for Houston.
Yeah, which is the case sometimes. Eric Sviatchenko missing the penalty, everybody else converted. But
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's tough, right? Because and we said it. I think Houston was going to play this way, right? Keep it tight all the way until the end. If they had to go to penalties, and certainly, more so with the red card, went that route, and 12 minutes of added time.
A lot, by
stoppage
the
time
way.
in
Yeah.
the second half, including the penalty. And we didn't know coming back from that, even though the penalty was overturned, taken back, we didn't know how many more minutes they were going to add still.
Right.
In the end, they finally got to full time. It's like, all right, so they, got out of there with a tie. Here come the penalty kicks. It seemed like it was starting. Everything seemed to be falling the Dynamo's way. Because
And
they
Steve
did have
Clark
some luck.
pumped, by the way, at the end of regulation.
Exactly. It felt like a win to get
It
to
did.
penalties. Until obviously the missed kick, and that gives Seattle the victory.
Well, let's go with Coach Ben Olsen, who's now joining the group here. So
Recording
let's take
in
that.
progress.
Let's take
All
that
right,
here.
everyone, go to head coach Ben Olsen here for you. Ben, just your thoughts on that result.
Just go right to questions. So, what do you got?
Go right to questions. We'll start with Danielle. Danielle, go ahead.
Hey Ben, just how did your strategy have to change after that red card?
Yeah, it was nothing dramatic. It was essentially, again, I thought the guys did really, really well. Once we went down to 10 men, again, everybody just put in a really good shift, and I'm really proud of the performance overall. It wasn't our best performance on the ball. Again, it seemed like we struggled at times with some of the passing and connections and decision making, whether to go or be a little bit more patient throughout the night. But as far as giving a real collective defensive effort and pushing that thing to PKs was a very impressive performance. And again, just proud of the guys to take it to there. And then PKs, this is what happens sometimes. And it was made 4 out of 5. They made 5 out of 5. It's difficult to lose that way, but I think we take some confidence back to our house. And looking forward to the next game. And now the task is to come back here. And I think if we do, I think we'll be we'll have a better performance here when we do. It just means our road is a little trickier right now, but it's certainly one that we're looking forward to getting home in front of our fans and getting to that third game.
All right, Joey, go ahead.
Hey, Ben, would you be able to take us through exactly what happened on that play that led to Coco Karaskegan and the red card? The broadcast never really showed exactly what happened, what unfolded there.
The broadcast didn't show it because they probably didn't know which haymaker to deal with. There was 5 from them and Austin, everybody, and then all of a sudden Coco, because his hand was close to a neck or something like this, he gets thrown out. He did Ted did the right thing. He gave everybody some yellows. He calmed it down. But then VAR has to interject and put their 2 cents in and why they need to control the game. And sometimes it's best when the guy in the middle just deals with the moment. I thought he could have got in there actually a little bit and separated some guys. Instead, he pushed away and let the whole thing happen. And then Coco gets kind of attacked and he comes back with a push and it goes towards Ruzdik's neck. Yeah, I guess if you really want to do that, good. But in the playoffs and in general, I guess my theory on this is like, if it's maybe, then don't do it. Don't change the game. So to me, it's in that gray area. Yeah, you could, sure. I'm going to go by the letter of the law. Ponce got hit in the face a little bit later in that game or maybe earlier. He got hit in the face. Why not call him out? Why not throw that guy out? It's like there's always hands to the face in this stuff, and you're going to throw someone out every time. I just thought Ted actually in real time got it right and someone intervened, and that's disappointing. And even then, he could have said, you know what, this is just an intense playoff game, settle it down, and let's go from there. But change the game. But again, proud of the way the guys stuck to it and forced PKs. We defended very well down the stretch, and unlucky not to win the PKs.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, we'll go to Alex. Go ahead, Alex.
Yes, Coach. First of all, can you hear me?
Yep.
Coach, I know you're not only disappointed in the result, but you're thinking through, as I hear it, all the positive that you can take from this. And it seemed almost destined to happen until of course, the spot kicks. What do you build on this? And I know it's raw. I know it just occurred, but obviously there's a lot positive from here. I think the luck, the destiny was headed your way tonight. It just didn't quite happen. But maybe you've already addressed some of these things. Beyond the emotion of the moment, I guess you can build on this for getting back to Houston.
Yeah, I don't think our guys are in there. I think our guys are excited to play this team again at home, where we will play a little bit. It won't be turf. It won't be wet. I think that affected us a little bit in some of the passing, and that kind of didn't give us the possession at times that we wanted in their building, to take the crowd out of it, take the energy out of it. So we'll get home and we'll play our best stuff at Shell Energy, and looking forward to the next game. So I'm just a little bit disappointed, really, in the way the refs handled the game. It ended up being quite a bit about them, and 150 minutes by the time the game was over. It was just one of those nights where it was just too much of them, and I thought they could have just let a physical, intense game go and manage it in the right way. But he's a good referee. But tonight, I just thought the group, it wasn't what the game needed. But yeah, there's positives. I mean, I told that group in there how proud I was of the performance, and pushing that to PKs is a really gritty performance, resilient, and you need that. And as I said, Alex, the journey just becomes a little different. And so now it has to go to our house. We got to win that game and try to come back here and see out the series.
Great. Coach, thank you for your time. Very generous.
Thanks.
All right, Jorge, go ahead.
Good evening, Coach. How going into the series, how different did Seattle play from the last time you were there in the regular season? And, you mentioned it, but how can you continue to break this team down to make sure you go back there for a game 3?
They're a good team. You can tell again how stingy they are defensively. You have to earn looks at goal. We didn't get a lot. They played. I thought they played better than us over the course of 90 minutes, and there were times we just. I don't think we were clean enough. We understand who they are and the problems they pose. I don't think that was necessarily an issue. I just think we didn't, we weren't at our best all over the field, and that's that I trust will be the case when we get back next week. And you don't come here and win without being having everybody show up and being at the level they need to be at. But again, it's a tricky place to come. The turf is, it's not great. It's not an excuse, but it does affect some of these players and some of the connections, and that just was a little off at times. And with that, some of it is decision making and when to go, when to stay. But they're a handful.
Hi, Coach. Before this, you spoke about getting into the turf, right? How it would take some time, and it did. The passes at first were probably not connecting, and then it did. So now I want to ask you for next game, how confident are you that the series will go to a third match?
I think we're going to go home and play our best soccer. We have to, and we have to win a game to push this series. Who else? What else you got?
All right, Dustin, go ahead.
Hey, Ben. Blessing came in and then came off there for Steres at the end. Was there an injury there, or just what?
No injury. I feel bad. You never want to do that as a coach, but the game needed. We needed some help back stick, and Daniel Steres is a better defender and gives you a little bit more security onto more of a back five because they were pushing us back pretty deep, and we just that was it. Also, Dan, we know, is a very good penalty kick taker, so that was part of the thought process there.
And you got about 80 minutes out of Hector. Was that the plan today? And how do you see him now?
No, the plan was to get him to 45 and see how he rolls, and he did a good job tonight. He started getting really leggy there, and we needed fresh bodies, and Brooklyn came in and did a good job.
Thanks, man.
All right, anyone else before we wrap up? Going once, going twice. All right, thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Thank you, Ben.
So there we hear from Coach Ben Olsen. Clearly, Lauda disappointed with the result this evening, and talking a little bit about the referees. The one question prior to mine was regarding the referees, Lauda, and I think he spoke
Hey, Jack, good evening.
without naming Ted Uncle.
Will there be a player speaking?
And
Yeah,
in
we'll
a
have,
second here, we're
Arturo
going to be able to
next.
see about getting hopefully one of the players, as you can hear. But Lauda, your thoughts on Ben Olsen's comments, please.
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll
I think
get
he was
first
on
off, fast as we
point.
can. Thanks,
I
everyone,
agree
for
with what
being
he said
patient.
about the referee, that the referee actually made the correct call. And kind of like trying to calm down like everybody's emotions, and it was kind of trying to be neutral. And then the VAR steps in, and the ref decides to go with what the VAR said. So I agree. I mean, I think that the first call was the right call. Instead of escalating this for a reason that he doesn't even know either. Like I'm still like in with the mystery of exactly what caused what we saw, because even in the cameras, like we really couldn't see, the angles didn't really show
Right.
what caused Carrasquillo to react that way. Like it was kind of like half of the story, right? We really don't understand what they looked at for him to say he's the only one that deserves a red card. So more questions than answers.
More questions than answers. Look, emotional. It's always difficult to have been so close in such a tight match. The emotion of playoffs, and still Ben Olsen talking about the situation. Victor is joining us as well. Victor working behind the scenes here to bring us the number one, the press conference, and second, comments and or questions from any of you friends that may be following us. Your take on Ben Olsen and his comments. You were hearing that. He spoke about the refereeing being, from my perspective, a factor in tonight's match.
I think he, in certain moments, I actually thought he was favoring Houston in some of those calls. But
Ted Uncle, the referee.
yeah, it was. And maybe it was a reaction to the Carrasquilla red card as well as the game went on. Because you remember there was a soft foul once it went down. I mean, it wasn't from beginning to end. I think maybe the most straight game, right, and calling it down the middle, which is hard to do in the playoffs. But I think overall, I think Houston, except for that red card, got a fair shake. The thing is, like Olsen says, and he's going to feel like that. If that was a red, then some other calls maybe should have been reds, and it's not going to always hand out like that, right? Where they're going to, all right, we took out one of your players, now we're going to take out one of their players to make it even. It's a tough call, I think, especially in these games. But also, we went back to it. I think Carrasquilla, and it's hard to tell because, like he mentioned, and just one of the things that you got to give him. He said there was a few haymakers, right, that were thrown before. We didn't get to see them.
Allegedly, that we didn't. We on the TV feed, if you will, we didn't see. Right. I didn't see that. No,
and it is weird to see Carrasquilla react that way, not in
unprovoked,
right?
From what we saw,
unprovoked.
Correct.
Exactly, especially because of the player, how we know him to be. So, that clarity, I think we're trying to see it in the MLS VAR social media. Sometimes they'll put these explanations. They don't have one for today, but I do think unless we see what else happened, I mean, it is hard to kind of not give him the benefit of the doubt there.
Yeah, and by the way, friends, we're standing by for a player that will be at Lumen. Our tour, we were told, so we'll go to that immediately, Lauda. So if I have to cut you off, we apologize. Lauda, all that said, even with playing with 10 men, Carrasquilla out, Dynamo get through 90, extra is 102, and they're tied. So it's not like that was the reason why. The reason why was because of a missed penalty kick. And I wasn't going to tell coach that, and I think it's a little bit too raw. Eventually during the week, you can process and ask. I will ask that question if it hasn't been asked. But Houston were in a place to make this happen, and it came down to one miss.
Yeah, again, I think that we knew that this game was going to be very close just because we know the characteristics of both teams, that they're not really kind of like the teams that go on attack consistently.
Right.
There was a shift of seeing, the rival obviously attacking more and being more on the Dynamo side prior to Carrasquilla leaving. There was kind of like a little shift, but again, the Dynamo has made it to the postseason being very defensive, and that's their forte, and they've become experts in it. And that's amazing and that's great. But the problem is that goals are the ones that give you the wins. So I think that, yes, they did well. They had a man less, but you're always going to have that curiosity to really think, what could have happened if Carrasquilla was there? Would they have pushed more to find a goal? Would they have done things a little bit different? Would have they backed up the way that they kind of like backed up, being more defensive? It's just a lot of things that really the shoulda, coulda, woulda. But at the end of the day, I think that they did a good job of what they know what to do, which is defend. But then again, defending can only take you so far.
Yeah, you need to move forward. You need to score. The only scoring this evening, if you're just joining us, in the penalty kicks and the spot kicks, in the format, Victor, we talked about this while you and I were watching. There is no overtime in any of the matches. If you're tied at the end of regulation, you go straight to the penalty kicks, and there's no aggregate goals. So you were mentioning
they lost 5-0, it wouldn't have counted.
It's just a loss per se.
Right, it just would have been a loss.
Yeah, correct. So that's part of the format. Questions, comments, please send them our way. I know we're on different platforms. We're standing by for Artur, the press conference from Lumen, so we can kind of hear from this player. And Victor, your take on what can be rescued in a positive way from tonight's performance. I think there's a lot more positive than negative, other than the loss.
Because they could have and maybe would have gotten away with it, I think, if it wasn't because of that failed penalty kick. It really did seem like it was going Houston's way.
Right.
I think Seattle in these games finds a way to be good at home. But I think tonight they were off. I don't think maybe the rain at the beginning of the game, changed that a little bit. They weren't the same sharp Seattle where, all right, well, it's 0-0, but by the 80th minute they'll get one in, and then it'll open the game up. They never got that first goal. Jordan Morris left right after halftime. Let's remember that. That's a big key piece for the attack for Seattle. Yeah, they can bring on Rui Diaz, but that's the same player he was a few years ago. Wasn't getting that many chances either. Neither team really in attack was really creating that much. Ponce, they still can't find him. Blessing, he comes on and then comes off. That was kind of weird.
Well, you heard what Coach said. Yeah. I mean, and I'm glad that question was asked because he played maybe 15, 17 minutes. It was because Daniel Steres was a better defender, and that's what the team needed.
And that's what they want to do. They're not looking to attack.
Correct. At that point.
Well, and throughout the season, that's the tendency. The tendency is to see out games like this, keep it close.
Yeah.
And then, if you can pull a game, a goal late, or if you can pull a goal and defend it for the rest of the game, or in this case, get to penalties and, just get a W in the series. It doesn't matter how you do it. But I do think, maybe, in fairness, Seattle did do more to try to get the victory, and call it the soccer gods, call it whatever, they got it. Again, Carrasquilla, I think, was going to get focused on a lot because it puts him at a disadvantage, but they still did enough, and we'll see what happens Sunday.
Forgive me, Victor, for interrupting you. My initial reaction, Victor Lauda, is regardless of whether it was 10 or 11, getting to where they got it was already a plus. I literally, sitting next to Victor, we're chilling in the hot tub. That's another show for another day.
We should have done the watch along from there.
That's right. That's what we should have done. Laura is not laughing. I think she's disgusted by that whole mental image. Regardless whether it was 10 or 11 men, Laura, Victor, getting to the penalty kicks, to the spot kicks, that was a major accomplishment under the circumstances. It's not quite enough, right? And I can tell Lauda, from Ben Olsen's comments, his disappointment in being so close, a history of never winning in Seattle, could have come to an end tonight in a monumental way. There's a lot to rescue positive, Lauda, as the team gets ready for the game next Sunday.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of positives, but again, goals are the ones that get the win. I think that that's like the lesson learned. Honestly, maybe it'll go more into like the plays and more into like the strategic thing that they have to push forward more. I mean, defending is fine and everything, but then it's going to come down to penalties, and you have to be really sure that your players are all going to score. And one miss will do you in, like it happened tonight. So I think that the best strategy, and I'm not a coach, I don't want to be a coach ever, but the best strategy for me is to score. And I think that once you score, you get out of having to deal with penalties, having to deal with situations like that, whether you have a player
Especially
less
because
or
they can defend well.
yeah.
Well,
So I just scoring is what needs to be done. Scoring.
Look, and as a pretend coach, because I'm also going to tell you I'm not the highest level coach, Laura, it's easier said than done. If every coach could figure out how to score and how to do it consistently, this would be a much easier challenge and a much easier sport. And again, I think you tactically handle the situation that's in front of you with the personnel that you have, and you make those decisions, like the Blessing decision today. At that point, yeah, let's hang in there. Let's go to penalty kicks. You've got your best 5, allegedly, that are on the field to take them. You miss one. Man, that was close, but not enough. And in this business, certainly at this level, Victor, playoffs are about winning. Lauda's correct here. If you don't put the ball in the back of the net, you're not going to win and move on.
If they advance, then we can say, hey, look, you got it right. But we'll see what happens in game 2, and if there is a game 3. I've said it all season, I don't like this approach, because I think, again, at the end, goals are what wins you games, and you have to have that balance. I'm not saying they got to go full on attack, but I think they do play too conservative at times, to where they open up themselves for this. I'll tell you another one, and it maybe not necessarily, maybe it came home to roost today, maybe it didn't. They have this culture of thinking, I know they're trying to, make this narrative of they're the underdog, right? What are we talking about here? What is everybody going to say? Well, it was a gritty performance. Look, they took it to the end. Nobody expected them to win. But that's the narrative that they want. I'd like for them to change that culture to something more proactive. Again, the other one, the refereeing, all season we see them complain to the referee. Olsen's complaining to the referee, talking to the fourth official. That translates over to the players. It is a little bit uncharacteristic for Carrasquilla to throw punches, but it is also part of the culture of this team to complain and to make the referee doubt. We've seen Escobar do it. We've seen Ponce do it. We've seen Herrera at times as well. So I think all these little things add up throughout the course of the season that unravel here a little bit as well.
What do you think, friends that are following us? We are doing a wrap, if you will, of Postgame. Tonight's match, the first in the series between Houston and Seattle, 5-4 on penalty kicks.
And while we wait for Arturo, I have a couple of...
Please.
Over on YouTube, we got Jeff Strong saying the Dynamo lived down to MLS predicted expectations yet again. All of that work and effort for nothing. Thanks, Coco. Enjoy Europe. So there's one take.
Fair. And look, let me address that, because Laura, I mean, you don't put yourself in that situation in such an important match, whether it can be justified or not. As Ben Olsen, I believe, attempted to tell us, was, look, others should also have been. You know what? That's always pointing the finger elsewhere when you should look inside, look in that mirror first. So thank you for that comment. Victor, just jump in, please.
Yeah, we have a couple here on Twitter. Sal says it was game 1. Really liked how the team hold it down until the end defensively. Now I believe we can take this Sunday W on both sides of the ball, go back to Seattle and take the series, because we've been road warriors and not done yet. Hashtag grind.
I mean, that's a very positive outlook. And I think that, I think that he's being nice, and I think he's trying to really hold it down for the team. But, honestly, I don't have those, those, I don't know, the saying that you're looking at everything with the, sunny sunrose glasses or however the saying goes. I just think that, it really wasn't enough. Like they really fell short. And I'm not saying because, Seattle was really, they were kind of doing the same. There weren't really any dangerous attacks from either teams. Honestly, it was a boring game. Besides that fight,
It's like
it was a
watching
boring
volleyball.
game. I mean, besides that fight that got you jumping, you're like, hey, what's going on? Please don't, like, that was the most exciting thing going on. Like, there was no goals and the penalty thing. But besides that, there were no exciting corner kicks. Like there wasn't something that's memorable. Maybe there's 2 or 3 plays, but they weren't memorable enough to say, oh my gosh, that was almost a goal, like from either or.
I'm the bitter old man, but I'm the most optimistic after tonight. Apparently, I did see a lot of positive. I did see the man. I think things were going in the right direction. Look, and the stars were lining up, Laura. I really believe that could happen. And if you say, hey, I was off by
Yeah.
1 penalty kick,
Yeah. And I want to be positive like you. I do. And I don't want to be a bitter
let me
Betty
give you my
like,
positive pills.
like
Here we go.
Victor.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a bitter Betty like Victor, but I'm
We
in the
love
middle.
Victor.
I just can't
one
be
for you.
I just can't be completely 101% content with what the Dynamo did. I
And,
can't.
you
Like
know,
that would be lying to my, my morals as a soccer journalist to say they did amazing. No, they did well enough.
No.
But I think that the team needs to strike, the team needs to attack. And I know that everybody knows that. But I just feel like if we pat them in the back and say, oh, guys, good job, like this is going to continue and they're not going to go anywhere in this playoffs. Just attack, just, defending.
You got to hold it down. You got to grind to shine. What else are we?
There's a lot of before you go to the next one, I do have something to say though. I didn't see Ben Olsen needing justification or feeling any. I think he understands how close he came and he was owning it. That was my initial take from the press conference. And by the way, Artur should be here shortly,
Yeah,
so if
we might shift
to that. We're gonna hold that for a second.
But
So
to go
please.
on your point, Olsen's not going to change the way he plays.
And forgive me, Victor. Here's Artur.
And a hard fight with that 10-man, but just, couldn't quite get over the line there on penalties.
It's a little bit disappointing the result, but I think the whole group should be proud. We are proud of the effort to be put away in a difficult field to play, and playing a long time with a man down. So I think we keep them from scoring, and I think we should be proud and confident for the next game at home.
Thanks for that. Herman, go ahead.
Hey, Arthur, tough loss tonight. If you can walk me through the beginning of the game, it seemed that the team was getting used to the conditions on the pitch, and that led to a lot of opportunities for Seattle at the start of the game. And just your thoughts on how the conditions impacted you and the rest of the team.
Yeah, we knew that it would be difficult to play here, especially because of the turf. The team needed a little bit of time to get adapt to the field and how the ball runs. But I think at least we dealt well with the attacking, and we knew how they would create chances, and we still put out the fires. And I think after that we did a better job, and I think it would be a different game with 11 against 11.
And then I just want to ask you about the team's grit. What do you use as motivation or inspiration to come out in game 2 and get a win in Shell?
I think we are all winners in the team, and we came to the playoffs with the mentality to win. We gave everything we had here. It was a tough second half, play with a man down, and I think the whole team has already all the energy and the right mentality that we need to play the playoffs. It's never easy against any team, but I think it's just natural. We talk about it. We want to win. We want to get far in the playoffs and lift another trophy this season. And I think the whole team is together on that.
And then the last question, on the broadcast, they didn't show a clear punch by Coco. what did you see on the field, and what explanation did the referee give you on the play, if any? Thank you.
Yeah, what I saw on the field was it was a little bit of confusion in there, and I think the yellow was enough for both of them. The referee said that he saw a kick or something by Coco. I didn't see that, and I don't know. We gotta trust the decision. They have, I don't know, 5 guys looking at a lot of different cameras, and I hope they got it right. But on my view on the field and what my teammates saw as well, we think the yellow card would be enough, and there are some other plays that should be a yellow card for them as well, and we just gotta trust and keep playing and try to do our best.
And the last one, the intensity. Speak on the intensity of the match tonight compared to when you came to visit Seattle a month and a half ago in the regular season. Felt like a very physical, very intense game.
Yeah, I think we were a little bit down the last time we came here on the intensity side. We didn't compete how we should have done, and we are a good soccer team. We know how to play and connect passes well and play as a team. And when we put that together with the intensity and the winning mentality and competing, I think we go to a different level. And playoffs should be played like that. And if the team got that spirit, it's much better for us. And that's what we talked about and about to do that in the game.
Thank you, Arthur. Safe travels home.
Thank you.
We got a few more minutes, 5 minutes or less, so we'll go Danielle and then Jorge and wrap it up there.
Arthur, what did you think of your guys' execution in the final third today?
I think we made some runs that we're talking about. Try to move the defense a little bit better, and we did that a little bit better. But we always need to be cleaner and try to get more shots on goal. And we keep working on that every week, and eventually it's gonna come. And hopefully it's in this playoffs and the next game.
All right, Jorge, quick one, and then Alex, if we have time, we'll go to you.
Good evening, Arthur. Just speak to us about the energy in the locker room right now and how you and the rest of the leaders are helping pick each other up after a game like tonight.
Good evening. The energy it's good. We know it was a difficult game. I think we would have a better chance playing 11 against 11, but things happen, and the whole team should feel confident. That's what we're talking about. We showed them that's not easy to win against us, even with a man down and playing at their stadium. And we should be confident to go back home and give them our best shot and bring the third game here and show what we have.
All right, Alex, go ahead to wrap it up. Can't hear you, Alex. No sound. You good? All right, yeah, all good. All right. We will. Alex, are you going to be able to ask it or no? All right, we're going to wrap it up there. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for jumping on, everyone. We'll have resources out in a little while.
Laura, if you can hear us, please continue a little bit. We're having some technical issues here, so we'll keep going.
Okay. What
did you think of? What did you think of Artur's?
What are the thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's very, what a player should say, that they're going to try and they're coming to Houston, and just very, like you have to trust what the referee saw, and the others didn't see. So I think, he was just, just answering the questions that were given to him in the proper way, and kind of answering very normal questions, normal answers. The rhythm, I guess, or the kind of energy that it was kind of low from him. I think that, obviously it was a frustrating end to a very hard fought game, knowing that you had a man less and then you were still trying to, make the best what you could of the game, and at the end losing to penalties it is frustrating. I mean, and it was something that maybe they thought they could have finally win a game at that stadium.
Our apologies. We were trying to get a question in, so I'll blame you.
Yeah, blame me.
Yeah, why not? But Laura, I'll let you finish your thought on Artur, and we'll chime in as well, and then we'll go to more questions and comments, please. But Laura, I interrupted you.
No, that was what I was basically saying, that now they're done with this game, and hopefully they'll recap and see what they can do to be more aggressive and take that on to the next game, thinking on to what's next, which will be here in Houston.
Yeah, look, I think the general narrative that's setting up here is that with the red card, the referees saw something that many of us didn't. I think that's one of the narratives here. And of course, being a man down, that affects the entire performance of a team. That's one of the things. But I still feel they're a little bit, they're disappointed in the performance. And I think a lot of positive can be rescued from it. Is it disappointing for us fans, for us that follow the team, for us journalists? Absolutely. But I don't think it's the end of the world per se, or that this series is over. And I'm getting ahead of myself, because I really think the team mentally is not satisfied. And I think not being satisfied can motivate all of these players. Victor, first your take on Artur, and then if you have any questions or comments, let's get him in here before too long. People have to work.
Yeah, look, it's always interesting to see the demeanor of the players in these things, because sometimes maybe they don't really give a lot of insight, but you can see the body language, and I think that tells you where I would say that probably be the body language of most of the players after this game. Just exhausted from getting to that point, the adrenaline of getting to penalties and potentially stealing one in Seattle, which I think would have been a huge plus to finish it at home. Now you got to come home, and it's an elimination game for the Dynamo, not for Seattle. Seattle's already got one in the bag, which, again, we've said the pressure was on them. Now the pressure's on the Dynamo here to save their season. And then if there's a game 3, well, it'll be back in Seattle. And it really, I think, will maybe go depending on what that second game would go off of. If the second game is penalties, I mean, that kind of changes, again, the momentum a bit. If Seattle just comes here and, beats them handedly.
And Victor, by that logic, then Houston didn't have pressure tonight, and Seattle was supposed to win. So everything's on track, right? By that logic, Laura. Let's see what happens in Houston. We'll get back to you, Laura, shortly. Do we have some comments and questions, please? Let's not neglect. But Laura, can you address that? If the logic is there was no pressure on Houston tonight, they overachieved. Now we're back to the shell, and we can see what happens. Is that fair?
I mean, I don't agree. I don't agree with that Houston didn't have a pressure. I think that they do have pressure, because knowing that, they made it to the playoffs, but the pressure is to advance, actually, to get somewhere. So I think that there was pressure.
No, they don't. People's jobs aren't on the line if they don't go to the next round.
I don't.
I would say
it's already been painted a success. 2 years
maybe job safety, yes. But I think that, again, like I'm saying, I think that a lot of fans or new fans that are coming in, they want to see more, because they're getting tired of that same old talk. So I think that there is pressure from, the fans, at least, that they want more. I mean, how much longer can you go promising to fans that they're going to do something, and just feed them, one pass to the playoffs and get eliminated in the first round? Like, come on, like you can't, sustain a fan base in that way. Like, it's not. And if there was no pressure, there needs to be a pressure. Somebody there needs to be, there's some sort of pressure.
And that's the question for you, fans and friends that are following us. Is this the moment? Is this a do or die situation? I mean, maybe going to your point, if Ben Olsen doesn't get through this first round Is his job on the line? Question mark.
It's not. He's probably already renewed for next year. But
I mean, that's true. Victor he's right. I'm sure that he's right. But I think that there has to be some kind of pressure internally or for the fans. There has to be some kind of really something.
Laura, forgive me. I didn't see a team not motivated. I didn't see a team not fighting. I didn't see a team not wanting more. So I didn't see complacency.
But look, everything that they lacked today, we've talked about before. It's been foreseen. And I think we can debate if they were proactive enough or not.
Sure.
I don't think they were. I think they wait till these instances to find out, let's say, right? When I think you already, during the course of the season, you face Seattle. You know you might not have enough. Could you have stocked up a little bit more in the summer transfer window or even in preseason? So when you get to this point, look, Seattle wasn't their sharpest tonight. This was one of maybe the worst Seattles we've seen recently,
Fair.
right? Other than, maybe the season where they didn't make the playoffs because of the Champions Cup. And they pretty much gassed out in the beginning of the season. But I'm talking about the Seattles we've seen in the playoffs in the past. This wasn't their best version. They were off tonight. They could potentially run them out of the building on Sunday, come in here and end the series. They had a prime chance. I think that's why they feel, wasted. They feel exhausted because I think they saw it. They had a chance to take out Seattle at home. And it does take the air out of you and the rest, they'll come back. They'll try to refuel and say, all right, we still got 2 games, but I think it does, at least for now, take the energy out of you.
Do you have some comments or questions?
Yeah, I got a few.
Hit us with them.
This first one is get rid of Alayu, so maybe that'll tell you where this guy's headed. Had good possession in the first 5 minutes of the game, but then we let them control the game from that point forward. With a mixture of useless plays, imprecise passes, weather conditions sucked, and no attacking threat, we just barely managed to get to penalties. Matthew Molina says, disappointed, proud of the effort to take it to PKs. Coco can't escalate that situation, dumb Reds. Steve Clark underwhelming, PKs again. Tough miss by Sviatchenko, however, got a block one to win. I'll be in Shell Sunday night. And then Mark down here calls Steve Clark a bum, which I don't think I've been critical of Steve Clark before. I don't think he's had a bad season. I think it's actually probably maybe his best Dynamo season.
Yeah, look, I sense some frustration there, of course, and thank you for your comments, all of you, and your interaction. As we think about wrapping up this postgame, mission not accomplished in Seattle. Laura, this evening, we get back to Shell, and then it's, I don't want to say the pressure shifts immensely because the pressure's already there, but it's a do-or-die game for Houston. Now that's the reality after a missed opportunity at Lumen.
Yeah, I think that, going to Victor's no pressure, I think that there's going to be double the pressure now, I think. I don't know. I think that it's going to be tough. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. And if they try to shift from what they've done the entire season, which is be more defensive, to face up with a team that is just as or more defensive than they are. And that team I don't really think that, Seattle's going to want to open up and, make miracle, amazing goals. I think that they're going to, be in the back. So I think it's going to be a very difficult, closed game. And some strategies need to be talked about being more, again, aggressive, be more forward to really try and win this game. Because if not, it's going to be a lockdown.
I don't think that's going to change.
Well, you can't change it at this point, right? Yeah.
Well, no, I don't think they're going to change it. I mean, because they can choose to say, hey, we're going to go after it. We want to try to get 4 goals before halftime of game 2. We want to put this game in the bag, seal it, go to game 3. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we'll be surprised, but I don't think they'll change that style. I think they'll have Seattle in here. They'll try to measure them. They'll try to get that 1 goal, defend it, or take it to penalties again if they have to, and maybe ride the home crowd. But I don't think they change.
And let's speak.
They shouldn't do that though. They should attack and should do more.
But you can try to find Ezequiel Ponce a couple more times. I think you can try to open the game up through the wings. I think again they shy away from that. Aliou Ibrahim, whenever he first came to Houston, he was an explosive player. They've sort of told him tone it down, right?
Yeah.
The data says otherwise. We want to play this way or else, essentially, right? He had how many goals at the beginning of the season and then sort of just faded off because they asked him to play differently. the same thing tonight. Latif Blessing, he wasn't playing defensive. Get him out. And I know people will point to, well, if Anali, had been healthy, it would have been a different season. If, Nelson Quinones didn't get, I think it wouldn't have mattered. They would have played the exact same way. They would have asked guys to play a little bit more tucked in, not to divert from the system, because that's the way they play, and they're married to it, and they're going to go down swinging with it.
You know what? And my only criticism of that is at some point, a winning team in this sport, in my opinion, has to be flexible. They have to know when and how to change and adjust in game. This team has the quality, the history. Certainly, we've seen it with Ben Olsen, but a little flexibility.
I agree with you on all those points.
Victor,
That's
a little
why it's
flexibility.
frustrating,
Yes, a little
because
flexibility, I think, would get him to go a long way versus this is the only way.
Right.
I think you need flexibility. As we wrap up, Laura, what are you thinking for next Sunday at Shell Energy Stadium? What are you expecting as far as on the field, as far as support from the fans? Another sellout?
I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be a sellout.
And now, is it because there's so much stuff going on? Is it because the support isn't there?
There's a quilt convention in town, I think.
That's one of the points.
I don't think
Competing.
it's that, honestly. I don't think it's because there's anything else or everything else going on. I just think that there lacks a passion for the Dynamo. There lacks a passion for soccer in general. Even for the Dash, I think that there's some not a lack for soccer itself, because we've seen, when other teams, Tigres, when they come, when America, Chivas, or Mexico or Colombia, they come, it's a full house. I think that there's a lack of disconnection. I mean, there's a lack of connection between these teams with the locals. And then if they saw this game, if they were able to log into Apple for the free game and they saw this game, I don't think they would be compelled to spend, it's a Monday, to be compelled to go after work, because the game's at 6:30. I want it 6:37.
The game's going to be Sunday, Laura. The game
Sunday. Okay,
this
so
game
go on
is
a
at home.
Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah, so go on a Sunday and, before they have to go to work and go watch this game. I don't know if people want to do their Sunday like that and perhaps see a game like this one, that the only moment that was exciting is because they almost saw a boxing match in the middle of it. Like, I don't know if that's compelling enough of saying, is it going to be worth it?
And
Are
that's
they
the
going to do
point,
something? Are they going to fight for it?
As we're looking forward to it, I mean, it kind of goes unsaid, but no Carrasquilla for game 2.
He'll be suspended after the red card he received tonight.
Exactly.
Victor, your take on what we're going to see on Sunday here, the third Shell Energy, Houston down 1 match versus Seattle. Is it compelling soccer? Do we get a sellout? Do we get fan support to get at least the series tied?
I hope they rally for the rest of the week and they put all the marketing muscle behind the team and try to fill that place up. Whether they sell the tickets, give them away, whatever you got to do. Look, Seattle, that's another thing tonight. One of the better atmospheres in all of MLS. Tonight, I don't think that stadium was that intimidating. It didn't sound like it. It sounded like they were silent at times.
Well, their home team didn't give them much to celebrate, to be honest with you.
But I'm saying sometimes, that itself will carry you. That's what they try to build. Maybe they had 2 weeks to build up the Galaxy game, but I hope they fill it up. They get some noise in there. Again, I think we're not far off. I think they have the tools to beat this team. I don't think this has been a Goliath Seattle like we've seen in the past. They're there for the taking. I think the format benefits the Dynamo's strengths. They just got to go out and I think just attack a little more. That's it. And they'll be, again, they can have a good game from Hector Herrera at home, which maybe is a part of the reason why he got subbed off earlier. And Ezequiel Ponce, at some point, I mean, we've seen him, the goal against New England. You got to give him the ball, give him a little more creativity, give him room for creativity. Aliyu as well. Bossy, I think, you got to at least give him a chance. Maybe sometimes they don't hit the net, but especially your better player, Ponce, I think you got to give him a chance to win you the game.
We've got to go, but first we want to thank all of you for following us, for watching our live version of the Soccer Tejas podcast. We really appreciate you being with us. And also a night where there's frustration. You can hear it. At the same time, there's energy of what could have been, of what might still be, because the series is not over. Laura, I'll give you the last word. What are you thinking about as we say goodbye?
Hopefully they attack. Hopefully they push forward and get some goals in the back of the net and prove all, doubters like Victor and myself wrong.
I hope so. I do. I hope so. I hope they come out and shut us up. Do it.
Yep. Yeah, same.
I thank both of you. Laura, it's always a pleasure to be with you. Victor, same. And I can sense their passion. I can sense their caring. And look, I don't think any of these comments are negative. They're actually out of the wish and the hope that Houston Dynamo FC can one day once again be MLS Cup champions. I think that's honestly, at the end of the day, what we all want for this team, for our city, and for our sport. So on behalf of Laura, on behalf of Victor, I'm Alex Parra. Thanks to all of you for joining us. And until the next time we meet on this, we call this the Soccer Tejas